With the approaching release of the Beast Naga Boys, we should take some time to familiarize ourselves with the orc clan that best fits the theme of these wild and aggressive new orcs. No clan is as savage and primitive as the Snakebite clan, a clan that for ages has tempted orc players into kit-bashing orcs from the Age of Sigmar or the Fantasy line with the good old greenskins of 40K. With that said, I want to welcome you guys back to another 40 Facts about the 40K universe. I am your host, Gersh1, and today we're going to be talking about the Snakebite clan. If you guys are new to the channel, we post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. What I try to do is I create a video with a lore portion that's followed by a hobby portion. Today we're actually going to be kit bashing our own Snakebite orcs, so basically feral orcs, and then a Q&A portion at the end where I answer the questions that you guys left off in the previous video. So if you guys have any suggestions or questions about the 40K universe in general, just ask down in the comment section below and I'll answer them in tomorrow's video. But with all that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Snakebite clan. Considered backward by the more technologically minded tribes, Snakebites still follow the old ways. They scorn complicated matters like making their own guns or vehicles. The clan puts their faith in things that they can trust: a good bit of sharpened bone, a heavy stick, or a nice keen-edged choppa. In battle, they will dab themselves with mud and crude war paint, hanging the claws and teeth of beasts that they have killed around their necks and wearing poorly cured skins. As a result of their rugged lifestyle, a snakebite's appearance is weather-beaten, and they are as tough as an old boot. They are experts in the field of breeding stock, and their grots and squigs are the most genuinely vicious and dangerous in all of orcdom. When a tribe of snakebites joins a wog, it brings with it a menagerie of these beasts. Their camp is complete chaos, with ravaging, snarling squigs and running, screaming grots. When other orcs are looking for an aggressive attack squig or an unusually fierce or obedient grot, they come to the snakebites. Squig baiting is also a specialty of the Snakebites, and when an orc is not fighting, he will often wander down to the clan's camp to watch a bunch of grots get thrown into a pit with a ravenous giant squig. But the most fearsome beast bred by the Snakebites has to be the mighty Squigoth. Huge, towering creatures capable of knocking over battle tanks and trampling entire platoons. These monsters are reared from a particularly ill-tempered young squig that will quickly progress from biting off fingers and hands to devouring careless grots and anything else that strays into their pens. However, a well-trained Squigoth will become almost completely loyal to its snakebite master, recognizing him by his distinct smell and reserving its rage for its master's enemy. The Snakebite's clan name and emblem comes from the rite of passage that involves a young aspirant goading an extremely poisonous serpent into biting them, then sucking out the venom to prove their toughness. This leads Snakebites to build up an immunity to venoms, and they usually bring poisonous serpents to each new world they invade in case the local wildlife proves disappointing. As far as Snakebites are concerned, snakes are the best pets. Obviously, the more aggressive, the better. The Snakebite run herders breed larger numbers of Gretchen than most other clans, who in times of war are given weapons and herded into battle, often manning artillery batteries. Ironically, the more sophisticated weapons that fall into the hands of the Snakebites usually find their way into the hands of their grots, as the runts of the tribe are left to figure out how they actually work. The orcs meanwhile gather into especially large mobs, whose lack of shooters is more than made up for in their assortment of heavy blunt objects. When the Snakebites launch an assault, it is with such shocking ferociousness that the enemy is buried under an avalanche of battle-crazed orcs, snapping squigs, and gun-wielding grots. Though they may be rather low-tech, the Snakebites are a deadly force. One of the most well-known and notorious Snakebite tribes has to be the Wormkiller tribe, the Tyrannid killers basically. When Wogbork rampaged out of the Ghoul Stars and into the Eastern Fringe, the Wormkiller tribe came with them. Filled with alien trophies and covered in scars, this Snakebite tribe earned their name by killing Tyrannids. Runt herders tell tales of how the tribe went hunting through the jungles of some remote world when they came across a giant fleshy spore encased in glistening amber. Dragging it back to the orc fleet, they cracked it open, and hundreds of clawed serpentine Tyrannids spilled out. The Snakebites hunted the creatures down, taking great pleasure in the fact that they seemed to grow rapidly, and no sooner had you bashed one than another one appeared from a vent or a drain. Before long, the orc cruiser was infested, and most of the other orc tribes on board were killed. Only the Snakebites survived this weird Tyrannid jungle that had been created from their ship. By the time the infested cruiser drifted into a system, the Snakebites had finally killed most of the Tyrannids on board, having learnt the best way to crack them open and smash them up. Covered in Tyrannid trophies and using alien claws and talons as weapons, they joined up with the other orcs, calling themselves the Wormkiller tribe. Having had so much fun hunting the Tyranids in space, the tribe had kept some alive and released them onto the first world they came to. While the rest of the orcs smashed the human inhabitants, the worm killers made sure that the Tyranids had time to multiply, so they would make good hunting. By the time the orcs had torn apart the humans, they found themselves overrun by Tyranids, and gleefully turned their attention to this new foe. Since then, the worm killers have spread Tyranids to dozens of worlds so that they can have a good fight wherever they go. Now that we know the lore to this clan, let's build some Ork Snakebites. In order to create our own mob of feral boys, we will be using the Savage Ork box from Age of Sigmar. These orc models look amazing and really capture the primitive nature of a Snakebite clan. I almost feel bad calling this a kit bash because in reality I'm going to be using almost the entire Savage Ork model, very little orc boy. As you guys can see, when we compare the Savage Ork with the regular boy, the Savage model is much taller, which I hope will look better alongside the new Beast Snagga models once they actually come out. The only real alteration I will be doing is adding a slugga to the hands of the Savage Orks. The process is actually really simple. All I have to do is cut the hand off of the Orc Boy arm and then glue it onto the Savage Orc Boy. The Savage Orc Boy actually has different weapon options, so there is no hand there. Now, there is another method that I have used in the past. It's simply creating a mold of the orc arm using Umu 30. If you guys want an explanation on how I make molds and how I recast these things, I'll put a link up above. Check out that video. It'll explain everything. But once I have the recast of the Ork Slugga, I will attach it to the hand with some super glue and then shape a little fur bracelet around with green stuff to hide the size difference. Because remember that recasts usually are smaller. And this method, the recast method, really helps me with continuing with the other orc boys, because now I have recasts, so I don't really have to use up any orc arms from from another kit. But another thing to keep in mind is if you really don't want to buy an entire orc boy kit, you could buy the arms separately on eBay. They're probably not too expensive. But once the green stuff has been dried, it's time to paint. Now, I knew that the majority of the model was going to be green since they're savage orcs and they don't really wear any type of clothing, so I primed the entire model with a dark green. After that, I took a puffy makeup brush and dry brushed the entire model with a lighter green to add highlights to the skin. In order to make the skin of the orc pop, I wanted to try something new. I actually dry brushed the entire model with a yellow. At first, I got scared that I ruined the entire thing because I thought it was too bright, but I then decided to continue the process hoping that the washes that I'll add later will mellow out the yellow. Now, using red, I began to work on the Snakebite war paint. I tried my best to give the model interesting tattoo designs, but the one that I ended up liking the most is just a simple band around the arms and legs. I then went ahead and painted the weapons and the base of the model with a gunship black, and then painted the bone, cloth, and the wood parts of the model with a brown. Now, using a tan color, I painted the bone trophies and also the orc's teeth and claw with that tan. After that, I painted the orc's hide clothing a mixture of light blue and navy blue. With the hide and bone complete, I went over the leather straps with a black, and in order to highlight these straps, I dry brushed a gray over the entire black pieces. Then using white, I hit the bone with a final highlight. Now I went back to the weapons and dry brushed metallic silver, and then finally it was time to add the washes to tone all of these colors down. I used a brown or sepia wash for the bone and cloth bits, and then a black wash for the skin and weapons. And then the last thing I forgot to film was repainting the war paint to really make the design pop. And there you have it, a Snakebite orc ready to fight alongside the Primaris orcs, aka Beast Snagga boys. And that's the lore to the Snakebite clan and how to kit bash your very own feral orcs. I really like how this guy turned out. If you guys want to get the other guys in the list, because this is 1 out of 29, the other 29 I still have to paint. It's probably going to take me a while, probably to the end of the week, if not longer, probably longer. But I'm going to be updating our Instagram with photos of these guys. And what's cool about the Savage Orc kit is that each one of them is very customizable, so each one looks slightly different. They all have different poses, but on top of that, they have different weapons, which is really badass. And then the actual like bodies have different decorations, so like different trophies. And just like awesome cool bits. So again, follow us on Instagram, One Mind Syndicate, if you guys want to get more of these awesome updates of this feral orc. It's really just a unit that I'm using for my warband, but if you guys want to get updates, follow us there. Now it's time to answer some questions that you guys left off in the previous 40 facts video. It's actually been a while since I've created a 40 facts video, so this is from last week. If you guys have questions for me, please comment down below. So if you guys would like me to respond to a comment, or if you want to ask a question about the 40K universe, I will do a video response in tomorrow's 40 facts video. I should have a 40 facts video for tomorrow, but these are coming from the 40 facts and lore on the Forge World of Lucius. So let's start off with Franco Chiodi. Who is the best loyalist space marine from the Traitors Legion / Horus Heresy that you would like to be alive or more active during the 42nd millennium? Saludos desde Argentina. Saludos. I've talked about him before, and we have a 40 facts video on him. It is Rylanor. So the ancient Rylanor, he's a Contemptor Dreadnought. I think it would just be really awesome for us to have a Rylanor model within the... Like, if they created some type of, like, other codex where, like, you could have different characters from, like, different parts of the Horus Heresy that are still alive, living in Contemptor Dreadnoughts. So I guess if GW would create a codex for just Dreadnoughts, it would be kind of cool, because you could bring back loyalists from the Traitor Legions from the Horus Heresy that have just survived throughout the many, many years. GW can create, like, some type of cool story to go along with it as to, like, you know, what chapter held on to these dreadnoughts. So yeah, Rylanor for me. Comment down below, let me know what your favorite loyalist traitor or loyalist space marine from a Traitor Legion you guys would like to see. It's a tough one just because I don't read the Horus Heresy novels. Most of the lore comes from, like, the codex, so if I hear a little snippet from something, then obviously I'd look it up. But yeah, I would love to hear what your favorite model is. Next question comes from Puppy SB. Considering that the three-headed Hydra is the insignia of the Alpha Legion, could there be a third twin of Alfarius and Omegon that we know about, or that we don't know about? It's 3 heads, not 2, and I don't think the Emperor is the 3rd head. I always thought the Legion was the 3rd head. So it's Alfarius, Omegon, and their Legion, because you have to remember that both of them, or when it comes to Primarchs, all the Primarchs were much bigger than their battle brothers. And then when Alfarius and Omegon were discovered, they were the same size as most Space Marines, and that's how they were able to hide within the ranks of their Legion. And I think that is what the 3rd head is. It is their Legion. And in that way, like, they never really, like, die, because they just hide within their Legion. You don't really know if you're fighting one of the Primarchs or just a champion of the Alpha Legion. But yeah. Next comment comes from first name, last name. I just felt like saying this. I don't know why, but there used to be an old-timey drink that had DiDiet in it. I bet that crap used to put hair on your chest and cancer. Can't forget about the cancer. Yes, as long as this is not an autocorrect and you meant to say beets, because a cocktail with beets I think would be kind of good. I actually like beet juice a lot. But DiDiet or DDT, as they would say in Mexico, is actually like it's a little device or a chemical compound that actually kills mosquitoes. And when we go to Mexico, what they always do is they bust it out. It's like a little coil, and they burn it at the very tip, and then it just slowly burns all night. And what it does is it releases this this fume to kill a bunch of or to kill the mosquitoes that are around. It's not something used here in the US because it does cause cancer, but it has a very distinct smell. So if this is true, and this was an old-timey drink that uses this mosquito repellent, it probably did cause cancer because you're drinking it. But I could see them do like the whole thing that they do with like burning like wood, like making a cocktail smoky. So they get that machine that puts like smoke inside of a little like device, and then the smoke circulates around the cocktail. Then they lift it off. Like it's almost like, it looks like one of those containers from Beauty and the Beast that used to hold the rose. So they pump that smoke into it, and then it gives your cocktail that smoky taste. It would be cool to have that with the flavor of DiDiet or DiDiet. I mean, like I said, it's a very distinct smell. It probably would not taste that great, though. And that is really crazy that if that drink did exist. I'm glad it's gone. And speaking about cocktails, because we did talk about this in last video, last 40 Facts video, I told you guys to go check out this YouTuber by the name of Anders Ericsson. He has a channel dedicated to like cocktails and mixology and stuff like that. I've been binge watching it like all week. It's really awesome. You guys should check it out. I'll put a link up above. But he actually commented. He just says cheers, but it's awesome. If you're watching this, man, keep it up. Your content is awesome, really like relaxing and fun. So you guys should go check it out. Anders Ericsson is the channel. But yeah, thanks for the comment, man. And it's also cool because through watching it, I found out that he's from Chicago. I don't know what bar he works at. I don't think he's said, or I'm not that deep into the channel just yet to know what bar he works at. But it's cool that like I could bump into him in one of these weekends. So that's kind of cool. Keep up the great work. Next comment comes from Stetton Walters. I really wish they would come up with more lore on the Steel Confessors Legion. Their color scheme is cool, plus I love the illegal aspect of Mars making their own space marines. The Steel Confessors have a lot of lore. I mean, it would be nice to have like custom tabletop stuff. But yeah, the Steel Confessors have a lot of lore. For all those that don't know, they are the one, like he says. The Adeptus Mechanicus created or had some type of influence in creating Space Marine chapters during one of their foundings, and one of the chapters that was like, it became almost like an exclusive chapter for the Adeptus Mechanicus was the Steel Confessors, and then the High Lords of Terra found out, and obviously they like put an end to that, but the Steel Confessors are still out there. So yeah, they have really cool lore. Check out the 40 Facts video if you guys want to learn more. Next question comes from Carrie Vaught. Do you think that the Emperor struggles with the burden of what he was destined to become in the first few years of his existence? I don't think so. I think like the Emperor, kind of like Doctor Strange in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where he like he saw the however many outcomes, and there was only one outcome where the Marvel or where like the Avengers won. I think the Emperor had the same situation where like he encountered the Chaos Gods, he thought about it, and he's like, out of all of the different scenarios that can play out, the only one that I can see like humanity surviving is if I get messed up by Horus and I get placed on the golden throne. So I don't think that he struggles with this. I mean, struggles in the sense that he's dying, sure, but like I think this is really the only way that the Emperor could have done it. And my theory is that the Emperor is becoming a god, and sadly he realized that sometime during the Horus Heresy, and now he's sitting there on the golden throne, slowly manifesting his powers of hope and light within the warp, to then come out defending humanity and fighting the Chaos Gods at their level. So it's God against God kind of thing. But yeah. Next question comes from Fola. I'm a fan of just about everything you mentioned. I think it may be oversimplified, but I think as a comic book fan, the lore took some getting used to because it's depressing. I can only read the lore if I read a totally different type of book afterwards. Also, I was warned off of tabletop gaming by a devoted tabletop player, but I've thought about it for 20 years. This may be the year. Definitely, man, try to play the tabletop. It's a lot of fun. The thing to keep in mind, though, is that Warhammer 40K, like, the tabletop is just one small aspect of the entire hobby. Collecting, painting, and building the lore is a big part of the tabletop as well. So if you're into reading the books, you're definitely going to be into building your own chapter. Even if you don't go to a GW store and play, or you don't have like a group that plays with you, creating your lore, like maybe starting a blog or an Instagram page where like after every model you post it, and like the community will help you build that like desire to continue to be a part of the tabletop. So keep that in mind. Like it's not just like a game like Magic the Gathering or whatever other tabletop game. This is something that you really make your own. But yeah. And then I kind of understand what you're saying with the whole reading a book and then afterwards having to read something else. Not so much with 40K, I don't get that with 40K, but with other books, like if the book is written in a way where it's like very depressing, very like, sad, depressing, putting it down, my mind stays within that slump of whatever the character or whatever the story was like saying or doing. So I understand how you feel, especially like if you're reading something with like the Gardens of Nurgle or like the Labyrinth of Tzeentch or the Labyrinth of Slaanesh or something like that. I see how it could really like twist your mind and stuff like that. But yeah, thanks for the comment. Next question comes from Sebastian Mezzanato. Hey, thanks for the response. You're welcome. I love 40K for all the right reasons, and I ask because I'm a writer that comes from a writing family. My brother, Nicolas Mezzanato, is a filmmaker and a diehard 40K fan with 3 armies. I think the 40K universe is the Star Wars killer. No, probably not. They're two different, like I feel like they're the same genre, but 2 very different styles. So I found it fitting to use Rogue One as an example. Yeah, that's a good example. Like everybody keeps saying that Rogue One is like the darkest film in the Star Wars series. Also keep in mind though that Rogue One, if that was a 40K movie, would be the most tamest of stories that you can tell. And it kind of blew my mind you mentioning the Netflix series Love, Death, and Robots. That summer I realized how people could be eased into 40K. Very cool. Yeah, I almost got like kind of like, because it was the very first episode. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's a Netflix series, Love, Death, and Robots. The first episode, I really thought it was like, oh damn, this is setting up for 40K. But then you watch the second episode and it's like a completely different story. So it was a big bummer that they didn't continue with this like creepy, like sadistic sci-fi fantasy universe thing. But yeah. And yeah, keep up the, you're a writer as well, hopefully. I'll look up your brother, Nicolas Mezzanato. I hope I'm saying that right. But thanks for the comment. And the next question comes from Michael Bonthuius. Has there been attempts by the Adeptus Mechanicus to capture and study creatures from the Tyranid Hive Fleet? And if so, has any of them ever been successful in learning anything or perhaps turning them into weapons to be controlled? Yes. Inquisitor Cryptman actually got the Adeptus Mechanicus to analyze gene seed from, or not gene seed, but the genes, just like the genetic makeup of the gene stealers. And then they weaponized it by sending a brood into the Octavius or Octarius system, which then made the High Fleet. I forget what High Fleet it was, but the High Fleet that was connected to that Gene Stealer brood to go towards the Octavia sector. The Octavia sector was controlled by the Orks. It was like a huge Ork empire, not as big as Olenor or anything like that, but like it was pretty big and powerful. And the Tyranids and the Orks have been clashing ever since. And I think there's a book coming out specifically showcasing that battle between the Orks and the Tyranids. And then obviously you have, like, we have a 40 facts video on it. I think if you look up 40 facts and lore on the Orks versus the Tyranids, or the Octavia sector, or the Octavia sector, you'll find it. But what makes it so special is that Gatsgul Magor Thraka, the prophet of the Wog, landed right before the Orks were about to get destroyed, and he defended the Orks from the Tyranids, and it was just this awesome like thing and stuff like that. But yeah. And then Cabal of the Bloody Spoon says, wait, did I answer your question? Yeah, I think I did. Cabal of the Bloody Spoon, awesome title or awesome username, says, whiskey sour is good the way I make it. Whiskey just stirred in with sugar and lemon juice over ice. Maybe a cherry if you feel fancy. Very, very simple. I like it. Can't go wrong just mixing whiskey and ginger ale. Yep. Or really though, all the sugar will give you a hangover if you plan on some serious drinking. Yeah, usually that's what happens towards the end of a night. Like if you're having a house party, usually what I do is, like, if people are coming over, I make some type of like cocktail, like a special cocktail for the night, and I make it for the first couple friends that show up. And then, like, when more friends start showing up and the party gets going and then the pizza gets there and then, like, people are asking for drinks, I go back and it's like I can't make 4 drinks. Like, I'm not a bartender. So I usually just bust out, like, some type of simple, like, juice or soda, like ginger ale, and then mix it with something. Not to say that, like right now I don't really, like, enjoy those types of drinks. Like, I would rather much... Like, if it's a night of drinking out, just rather drink like whiskey straight or with ice, because of what you said, the hangover. The hangover is dangerous when you start mixing so many sugary drinks. Yeah, it just gives you a headache and stuff like that. But I'll try your you didn't give me ratios though for the sugar, lemon juice, and ice. But yeah. I tried a rusty nail by, because I watched the episode, Anders Ericsson, he posted an episode on the rusty nail, and I made it for a couple of friends this weekend. They really liked it, and then, towards the end of the night, they asked for it again, and I was just like, well, you can make it yourself. I mean, I know it's just mixing 2 things, but I don't want to, so you could either figure it out yourself, or just get some ginger ale from the fridge and mix it with whatever. The lucky thing is that most of my friends are not beer drinkers. Yeah, I don't get the draw of beer. Like, it doesn't taste good to me. I rather, like, it feels more like badass to, like, mix your own cocktail and stuff like that, instead of just, like, going to the fridge, getting a beer. Like, okay. But yeah. Next question comes from, let's see, Anthony S. Frakes. With a new book, The Wolf Time's coming out soon, what do you think would happen with Leman Russ, or if Leman Russ returned? Would he and Gilliman have an issue, since Leman Russ never wanted the Codex Astartes and what Gilliman did to the Canucks Helix to try to remove the Wolfen curse? You guys are awesome. Thank you, man. You guys always keep the view in mind and interact with us more than others. Definitely the most viewer-oriented channel for sure. It's funny because I don't usually feel that way. I feel like the other channels do a better job of building a community. So it's cool that you say that. And you're not the first to. Like, on Instagram, there's another pretty cool, like, Instagram page that posted a comment about us, and then I responded, and he was like, oh wow, like, you're the first YouTuber to actually respond to me. And I think it's interesting that the other guys aren't as responsive. I would assume that they would, just because they usually get more like views and stuff like that. But thanks for the kind words. Now, as far as Lehman Russ returning, I think Lehman Russ will get into a fight with Gilliman. It's just inevitable. He fights with everybody. But then eventually he will go his separate way and try to probably fight into the north. So what would that be? The Tempestus segment, or the Segmentum Tempestus, over by where the Eye of Terror is. That's kind of what Fenris is in the Soul Segmentum, but slightly to the north. So I think he would be right there, fighting Chaos and specifically Magnus the Red. So we'll see what happens. I hope he does return. Who knows? And then this is going to be the last question by Tungustus Lumberjack. Yeah, damn, that's already 20 minutes. I quit drinking after decades of doing it like it was a career, hobby, and main form of recreation. So I can't share in the party any longer. That's a bummer. However, my old standby drink for when I was at home or anywhere without a bar to order real drinks was one of my own inventions. I'm a man of relatively simple tastes, and the drink I made for myself, if I wasn't just drinking straight vodka, and the one that most people at my somewhat legendary parties would request from me, would be, so I would mix 1 part 80 proof vodka, usually the cheapest rock gut available, 1 part red Hawaiian punch, add ice, shake, and pour it into a pint glass with a bendy straw. Crack up the sound system and serve with a smile. It's called the Ghetto Blaster. For all you youngins out there, that was a portable cassette stereo with big speakers from the 1980s era, also known as a boombox. Whoa, what just happened? Okay. In case you were worried about it being some kind of racist term, try it. You may want to adjust the ratio of vodka to punch to suit your taste, but just know that it's supposed to be strong, and if you adjust it, it's always better to up the amount of vodka rather than the amount of punch. Oh, and give someone else your keys. That sounds kind of like the whole ginger ale and whiskey thing. It's very simple, very like quick, probably good for like, those game nights where you're playing drinking games. I wouldn't increase the amount of vodka, but 1-to-1 does not sound enjoyable though. Yeah, that's crazy. I'll try it someday. I'm not a big fan of vodka or Hawaiian punch, red Hawaiian punch. But yeah, man, thanks for the suggestion, and if you guys try it, comment down below. Let me know if you guys blacked out. But those are the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for me, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.